He promised a dying bobcat he would protect her baby. He never imagined he'd have to bring it back from the dead to keep his word. The dawn in Montana was a soft thing. It brushed the sky with pale pinks and yellows. 8-year-old Leo Carter had grown up with a wild animal in his house. It was a bobcat. His father had found her, hurt and alone. He brought her home and made her well. She was not a pet. She was part of their family. Every night, Leo sat beside her. He would talk to her in a low voice. He talked her around, swelling belly. He could feel the small kicks of the life inside her. He made a promise. He whispered it so only she could hear. "I will protect your baby," he said. "I promise." The bobcat trusted him. Her gold eyes were always soft when he was near. Then one morning, everything was different. Leo heard a loud crash from the living room. It was a heavy, ugly sound. He ran to see what happened. He found the mother bobcat on the floor. She was not moving. Later, in the clean, quiet room of a veterinarian's clinic, their hope died. The vet told them the newborn kitten was gone. It had never taken a breath. But then, against all reason, the tiny kit moved. This is the story of Orion, the bobcat kitten who came back to life. And it is the story of the boy who would not let him go. The first light touched the big Montana sky. It was like watercolor paint, spreading pink and gold across the mountains. Leo Carter sat on the wooden steps of his family's porch. He was only 8. A worn notebook was propped on his knees. His pencil moved slowly. He was sketching the bobcat. She was stretched out on the living room windowsill. She looked lazy and content. Her name was Lyra. She had been with them for almost 16 months. Leo's father, John, was a wildlife ranger. He had found Lyra on a remote forest road. Someone had shot her. The bullet was stuck deep inside her, close to her spine. They had left her there to die. John Carter could not leave her. He knew the rules. Humans were not supposed to interfere with wild animals. But some rules needed to be broken. Sometimes, he told Leo later that night, a life is more important than a rule. The plan had been simple. They would help Lyra heal. Then they would release her back into the wild. But her injury was too severe. Nerves were damaged. She would never heal completely. She walked with a slight limp. She could not hunt well enough to survive on her own. The wild was no longer a safe place for her. The Carters had the right permits. John had worked in wildlife rehabilitation for 15 years. Their house was on a large piece of land. It bordered a nature preserve. They had the space and the legal right to give her a home. Lyra was not a pet. She kept her wildness, but she had learned to live with them. She had a special bond with Leo. He was a quiet, gentle boy. He treated her with a respect that many adults did not understand. Leo looked at his drawing. He had captured her pointy-ear tufts. He had drawn her calm, wise eyes, but he had not quite captured the soft curve of her belly. They had discovered it 2 months ago. It was a surprise. Lyra had been pregnant when she was shot. It was a miracle. The single kitten inside her had survived. Its growth was slow by the trauma, but it was alive. Dr. Evans, the local wildlife vet, was amazed. He had seen the tiny heartbeat on ultrasound. "I've never seen anything like it," the old vet had said. His face was full of wonder. "That little one is a fighter." From that day on, Leo became Lyra's special guardian. Every evening, he sat near her. He never got too close. His father had taught him about boundaries with wild animals. He would talk to her in a soft voice. He read to her from his science books. He told her about his day at school. Lyra would watch him with her amber eyes half closed. The gentle rise and fall of her belly was a steady, peaceful rhythm. "I'll help you take care of your baby," Leo had promised her just the night before. His voice was a whisper. "You won't have to be alone." The kitchen door opened. His father stepped onto the porch. He held 2 mugs. Steam rose from them. "Hot chocolate," John said. He handed one to Leo. "Your mom is still asleep. I thought we could watch the sunrise." Leo took the mug. He was grateful for the warmth. He moved over to make space for his dad. John Carter was 42. He was a man who was comfortable outdoors. His dark brown hair was starting to turn silver at the edges. There were lines around his eyes from smiling. Leo's mother, Maria, called them laugh lines. Lyra was restless last night, Leo said. He blew on his hot chocolate. Do you think the baby is coming soon? John took a sip from his mug. Could be, he said. Dr. Evans said it will be sometime this week. We have everything ready. Everything ready meant a nesting box in the mudroom. It was filled with soft blankets. There were emergency vet supplies in a kit. Dr. Evans's number was on the fridge. Lyra's old injury made the birth risky. They were all on high alert. They sat in silence for a few minutes. The sun climbed higher over the pine trees. In the distance, a family of deer ate their breakfast at the edge of the woods. Their ears twitched, listening for any sound from the house. The peace was broken. A loud crash came from inside the house. It was followed by a choked cry. The sound made the hair on Leo's arm stand up. John was on his feet in an instant. His mug was left forgotten on the porch step. Stay here, he ordered. But Leo was right behind him. He followed his father as he rushed inside. They found Lyra in the living room. She was on her side. A small table was knocked over. Her body was shaking. A dark stain was spreading on the wood floor beneath her. Something's wrong, John said. His voice was tight. He pulled out his phone. Call your mother. Tell her to bring the emergency kit. Leo was frozen. He stared at Lyra. She was struggling to breathe. Her beautiful amber eyes were wide with pain. They looked right at him. It was like she was asking for help. He had never seen her so scared. Leo, now! His father's sharp voice cut through his shock. He ran to his parents' room. He almost ran into his mother in the hallway. Maria Carter was already awake and dressed. She was a nurse. Her instincts had woken her up at the first strange sound. Her dark hair was pulled back. She held the red emergency kit they had prepared. Get your sister, she told Leo. Her voice was calm but firm. Keep her in her room. Leo went to wake up his 5-year-old sister, Chloe. He tried to explain that Lyra was sick. Outside, he heard his father's truck start. He looked out Chloe's window. He watched his parents carry Lyra to the truck. She was wrapped in blankets. Where are they taking her? Chloe asked. Her small face was pressed against the glass. To Dr. Evans, Leo said. His voice was shaky. To make her better. He spent the next hour trying to distract Chloe. They read books. They played with her dolls. All the while, Leo checked his father's texts. The messages were short and scary. Internal bleeding. Surgery needed. Baby in distress. Drive E says prepare for worst. Come now. Bring Chloe. Their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Gable, arrived a few minutes later. She was their emergency contact. She drove them to the clinic. She was usually cheerful, but today her face was serious and sad. The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center was a 30-minute drive away. It was a low building tucked against the edge of state forest. A vet assistant met them at the door. Her face was somber. She led them to a small waiting area. Maria was sitting on a bench. Her work scrubs were stained with blood. Her face was pale. She saw her children and pulled them into a hug. She smelled like antiseptic. Where's Dad? Leo asked. With Lyra, his mother said softly. And Dr. Evans. Chloe climbed on her mother's lap. She was young, but she knew something was very wrong. Is Lyra going to be okay? She asked in a tiny voice. Maria stroked her daughter's hair. She chose her words carefully. Lyra is very, very sick, sweetheart. The doctors are doing everything they can. Leo looked at his mother's eyes. He saw the truth there. He knew what she wasn't saying. He pulled away from her hug. He went to stand by the window. Outside, he could see the empty animal enclosures. The surgery felt like it lasted forever. Leo paced a short hallway. He thought about Lyra. He remembered the first time she took food from his hand. He remembered the day she let him touch her bad leg. He remembered the night he felt her baby kick. The door to the surgery room finally opened. His father came out. He looked 10 years older. His shoulders were slumped. His eyes were red. Dr. Evans stood beside him. He was holding a small bundle wrapped in a blue towel. There was a rupture, John said. His voice was raw and broken, an old complication from her first injury. We couldn't have known. The stress of a labor. He didn't need to finish. Leo understood. Lyra was gone. The kit? Maria asked. Her arm tightened around Chloe. Dr. Evans shook his head. He looked down at the bundle in his arms. We delivered him by C-section. But no heartbeat. No breathing. We tried. Leo stepped forward. He did not tell his legs to move. They just did. Can I see? The adults looked at each other. A silent question passed between them. Then Dr. Evans nodded. Be gentle, he said. He carefully passed the small bundle to Leo. The kitten was so small. It fit perfectly in his cupped hands. Leo could see its tiny ears pressed flat against its head. He saw delicate whiskers. He saw a perfect, miniature face. It looked like it was only sleeping. Its fur was damp and soft. It was the same tawny color as its mother's coat, with faint spots just starting to show. Leo had read all about bobcats. He knew newborns were supposed to be about 12 ounces. Their eyes stayed closed for 9 days. They nursed for 2 months. He had prepared himself to help with all of it. He had made a promise to Lyra. Now he held the still, silent body. Grief washed over him. It was a feeling he had never known before. I promised her, he whispered. Tears blurred his vision. I promised I'd take care of you. The adults stood by in silence. They watched the boy and the kitten. Leo held the tiny body close to his chest. He had seen mother cats carry their kittens this way. Without thinking, he started to rub the little body through the towel. It was a gentle, rhythmic motion. You're not alone, Leo murmured. His voice broke. I'm here. Please come back. Your mom wanted you so much. He kept rubbing. He kept talking. Tears streamed down his face. He was not ready to say goodbye. Not to Lyra. Not to this tiny life that never had a chance. Then he felt it. It was so faint he thought he imagined it. A tiny spasm. A small shiver in the kitten's body. Leo froze. He was afraid to hope. Did you see that? He whispered. He looked up at Dr. Evans. Before the vet could answer, another tremor ran through the tiny form. Then, a sound broke the silence. It was fragile and high-pitched. It was a tiny mule. It was weak, but it was life. Oh my God, Dr. Evans breathed. He rushed forward. This is impossible. But the kit mewed again. This time it was louder. Its tiny mouth opened in a yawn. Leo saw a pink tongue no bigger than his fingernail. The room came alive. The kit was taken from Leo's arms. It was rushed back into the surgery room. The vet team worked quickly to save the miracle survivor. Leo stood in shock. His hands were still curved, as if he were still holding the precious bundle. He could still feel the warmth of the tiny body against his skin. You did it, his father said. He knelt beside Leo. His eyes were wide with wonder. Leo, what you just did, I've never seen anything like it. Hours later, they were allowed into the neonatal unit. The kit was in an incubator. It was a special one, designed for premature wildlife. They had named him Orion. He was tiny and fragile. Wires connected him to monitors. The steady beeping was the sound of a miracle. I won't lie to you, Dr. Evans told them. His face was serious. His chances are still slim. Bobcat kits this young rarely survive without their mothers. The first 48 hours are critical. The Carter family stood around the incubator. They were a small circle of hope. Chloe pressed her nose against the clear plastic. She watched the tiny chest rise and fall. Can we take him home? She asked. Not yet, sweetheart, Maria explained. He needs special care right now. But we will, Leo said. His voice was quiet but full of determination. When he's strong enough, we promise, Lyra. The next days were a blur. Leo went to the clinic every day after school. He sat by Orion's incubator for hours. He talked to him, just like he had talked to Lyra. The staff at the clinic were touched by his devotion. They taught him how to feed the kitten. He used a tiny bottle made for baby animals. Orion needed to be fed every 2 hours, day and night. The family made a schedule. John and Maria took the night shifts. Leo was in charge of the afternoons and evenings. Slowly, the tiny kitten started to gain weight. His chances got better with every passing day. 2 weeks after his birth, Orion opened his eyes. They were bright blue, like all newborn kittens. One day they would turn amber, just like his mother's. Leo was there when it happened. His homework was spread out on a table next to the incubator. "Hey there," he whispered. Orion's eyes blinked in the soft light. "I'm Leo. I knew your mom. She was amazing, and she loved you a lot." At 1 month old, Orion was moved out of the incubator. He was placed in a special habitat that looked like a natural den. He was growing fast. His spots were darker. His movements were less clumsy. Dr. Evans called a family meeting. In a perfect world, he explained, Orion would be raised with very little human contact. We would prepare him to be released into the wild. But, John prompted, he could hear the hesitation in the vet's voice. But given how he was born and how he is bonded with humans, especially Leo, that might not be possible. He might never have the natural fear of humans that a wild bobcat needs to survive. The meaning was clear. Orion might have to live in captivity forever. "We have the permits," John said after a long silence. "We have the space, the experience." Dr. Evans nodded slowly. "It would be a lifelong commitment. Bobcats can live for 15 years or more." "We already made that commitment," Leo said firmly. To Lyra and to Orion, the decision was made. Orion would come home with them. He would live with the Carters, with regular checkups from Dr. Evans. They would follow strict rules to make sure he stayed as wild as possible. 3 months after Lyra's death, Orion came home. He was not the fragile newborn anymore. He was a healthy, growing kitten, full of energy and curiosity. John and Leo had built a special enclosure for him. It was a large, fenced-in area next to the house. It had logs for climbing, bushes for hiding, and a heated shelter for the cold Montana winters. Leo spent all his free time with Orion. He watched him with the careful eye of a young scientist. He kept journals. He wrote down everything about Orion's growth, his behavior, and his milestones. Dr. Evans said his notes were better than most college students. As Orion grew, so did their bond. Lyra had always been a little distant. She was a wild animal living among them. But Orion was different. He actively sought out Leo's company. He would chirp a special greeting when Leo entered his enclosure. He would rub his head against Leo's hand, like a house cat. He would play stalking games with Leo through the tall grass of his habitat. "It's unprecedented," Dr. Evans said during one of his visits. "He's bonded to you. He trusts you, but he's still wild. He doesn't see you as another bobcat, but he doesn't see you as a threat either. You're something different in his world." The years passed. Leo started middle school, then high school. His love for animals grew into a passion for biology. Orion grew into a magnificent adult bobcat. His coat was sleek and healthy. His movements were fluid and powerful. On Leo's 16th birthday, they had a special visitor. Dr. Anya Sharma was a famous wildlife biologist. She had heard the story of Leo and Orion. She asked for permission to visit and include Orion in her research. "What you have done here is remarkable," she told the family. She had been watching Orion for hours. Most orphan predators raised by people become too tame, or they're too stressed by being in a cage. Orion is neither. She offered Leo something he had only dreamed of. It was a chance to join her summer research program. He would work with wild bobcats that had tracking collars. "Your understanding of bobcat behavior is unique," she explained. "Thanks to Orion, you know things we can only guess at. You could help us develop better ways to help other orphan kids." That summer was the first of many. Leo worked with professional biologists. His years with Orion gave him a special insight that was incredibly valuable. By the time he was a senior in high school, he had helped write 2 research papers. He won a scholarship to study wildlife biology at the University of Montana. Orion was always there for him. Their bond only grew stronger as the bobcat entered his prime. The Carter property grew too. They built a larger, more natural habitat for Orion. It connected to a fenced-off section of the nature preserve. Orion now had nearly 5 acres to roam, safe and contained. During Leo's college years, his research focused on comparing Orion's behavior to wild bobcats. The information he gathered helped create new, better ways to rehabilitate orphan predators across the country. One crisp autumn day, when Leo was in his final year of graduate school, the family gathered on their property. It was a special day. The state wildlife department was there. They were dedicating a new wildlife corridor. It was a protected strip of land that would connect several separate habitats. It would allow animals to travel safely. The plaque read, "The Lyra Corridor, preserving safe passage for future generations." Cameras flashed. Officials gave speeches. Orion watched from his enclosure. His amber eyes, so much like his mother's, were alert and curious. He was 10 years old now, but he was still strong and graceful. Later that evening, the visitors were gone. The sun was setting. Leo sat alone with Orion in the quiet twilight. The bobcat rested nearby. He was close enough for Leo to hear his soft breathing. They kept the respectful distance that had always defined their strange and wonderful friendship. "We did it, Orion," Leo said softly. "We kept our promise to Lyra. Her story will help protect other bobcats for years and years." Orion's ears twitched. He looked at Leo. The last golden light of the sunset was reflected in his eyes. In that look, it seemed like he understood. Leo felt the presence of the brave bobcat who had started it all. Lyra's short time with them had changed everything. It had changed his life. It had changed the future of bobcat conservation in their corner of the world. Some promises, once you make them, change the world in ways you can never imagine. The tiny, lifeless kitten placed in a grieving boy's arms had become something more. He was a miracle. He was a friend. And he was the reason that countless wild animals would have a safer future. In the growing dark of the Montana wilderness, as the first stars began to shine, that felt like the best memorial for Lyra. It was the most hopeful beginning for all that was still to come.